Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Great to have you back on this jam-packed show as we welcome TSN radio personality Tony Marinaro. We're talking the Montreal Canadiens, trade deadline, and much more. I also face off and go toe-to-toe with the legendary mixed martial artist Bas Rutten. It's happening right here, right now. It's time to read between the lines. With the NHL All-Star Game now over, a lot of people have been complaining about the poor quality of it, including some of the big-name athletes that were left off the list on this week's Four Downs. We're talking the NHL All-Star Game, including PK Subban being snubbed. He's the biggest snub of them all. We welcome to the show TSN 690 radio personality Tony Marinaro. I've been looking forward to having you on the show. Thanks for taking the time.
Thanks for having me, Adam.
To your right is David Hurley, RBTL contributor. Great to see you.
Great to be back.
And to my left, Pierre Evans, just great to see you.
Good to be here.
All right, we'll talk about some of the names that were left off the list. Henrik Lundqvist, Pavel Datsyuk, Christopher Letang, PK Subban. Is PK Subban the biggest name that was left off this list this year? And especially when you consider how much they needed some sort of bravado and showmanship.
Yeah, the NHL missed a great chance to have a great ambassador there in PK Subban. I mean, the Friday fantasy draft would have been great to have him there. You would have seen his flamboyant side, his off-the-ice side that would have been a lot of fun for a lot of NHL fans.
You take a look at some of the voting that happened as well. You can understand from a voting perspective, right? You don't want PK Subban in there. If you're in the Montreal market, you love the guy. If you're not in the Montreal market, you don't. Are you surprised that the league passed on him, though? What does that say about the league?
Yeah, I'm surprised the league passed on him because if you take a look at, total marketability, right? And you're looking at age, talent, charisma, personality, good looks, flair, creativity, imagination.
He has the whole package.
The smile.
Yeah.
Take a look at absolutely everything. Think about that for a second, right? The total package that encompasses total marketability of any player in the National Hockey League. Is there anyone more marketable
Than him? No.
Yeah.
I don't think there is.
And yet Sidney Crosby, though, right, is asked to do that. Yet doesn't say a word. It's not necessarily the most flamboyant character, but the All-Star game,
he wasn't even there either.
Right.
You have a guy that wants to do it, and that's the perspective from the NHL that I don't understand. Unlike the NBA that markets its stars, and the NFL that tries to push its stars as much as possible, it seems like hockey looks down.
To miss the boat
they look
on
down at PK Subban like he's an anomaly, and I don't understand that.
You can see it great with the new GoPro commercial where you see the players stick handling and you see
He was a star in that.
Yeah. He is definitely the most flamboyant guy there.
Absolutely.
He is the star of that. And you have Patrick Kane, you have Jonathan Taves, you have Sidney Crosby, you have all these great talents, and yet who's the guy that stands out? It's PK Subban.
And you're going to have some that are going to say, well, they had to take a player from every team, and they took a look at how the player was performing. They didn't take a look at how the player was performing, right?
No, they didn't.
Drew Doughty is an NHL superstar. Don't count me among those who are going to say, well, Drew Doughty wasn't having a very good year, so he shouldn't be there. Because he is a star in the National Hockey League, and he can do things that others cannot. And it is a team sport, and he's not the reason why the Los Angeles Kings are struggling. Having said all of that, he's got 4 goals. He's got 28 points.
Right.
PK Subban's
31
got
points.
11 goals,
a game.
31 points.
So what
he's
is
a
it?
+7 instead of being a -1 or whatever it is.
So let's dive into it. What is the reason, right? It makes no sense statistically. We've seen, as you said, he's got the full package. Why is the league hesitant to give this guy the opportunity, give him that platform, that plateau, to take the league from A to B, the next level? What's stopping them?
You know what? I don't know, and I know what a lot of people are thinking. But the fact of the matter is, I don't think he gets the credit he deserves.
Wait, hold on. Let me just backtrack on
Yeah.
that. I know. Are you talking the race card?
Of course.
You're talking the race card. So you
course.
believe
It
that?
has to have an influence.
No, I didn't say I believe that, but you know what? They're not helping their cause by not putting this guy front and center, by not marketing this guy, by not having him at the NHL All-Star Game. I mean, what is missing from his game? And you talked about the GoPro commercial. I mean, the guy's got a flair for the dramatic.
Absolutely.
He's got 5 overtime winners. If you take a look at so far in the National Hockey League, more so than any defenseman that's ever played for the Montreal
Why
Canadiens.
is that, though? And is it an old school mentality? Obviously, the race card we can play it every once in a while. It's accurate, but for me, it's just
But
that
you can't ignore it.
You can't ignore it. And for me, the package that he offers, why would you not jump on that?
Listen,
why would you not push that forward as a guy to market your league that reaches all corners? I don't understand that. It's something that needs to be changed.
On that note, we're keeping the energy. We're coming back after the break. We're switching gears a little bit about the trade deadline. The Montreal Canadiens, they have to make a push. Are they sellers or are they buyers? Stay with us. It's happening right here on Read Between the Lines. Don't go anywhere.
Read Between the Lines is brought to you by Tilmar.ca. Innovative designs in the ceramic industry.
the NHL trade deadline approaching, a lot of teams are going to be selling and buying, and more specifically, we're breaking down the Montreal Canadiens. What do they have to do to earn themselves a shot into the Stanley Cup Finals, maybe even win the whole thing? We welcome back Tony Marinaro, David Hurley, Pierre Evans. Great to see you guys. All right, let's talk about the trade deadline. Montreal Canadiens, up to this point, safe to say, have established themselves as a favorite in the Eastern Conference, but it's going to take a lot more than that to beat the West. What do they need to do at the trade deadline, first and foremost for you?
Well, if they're using my credit card, they're going to have to be sellers because they won't be able to buy anything because it's maxed out, right? That's because of my wife, right? No, but look, taking a look at what they did last year, where they were in the standings last year, which is pretty much where they are in the standings right now, if they keep on, at this rate between now and the end of the year. They surprised a lot of people, but they also opened a lot of eyes. There's not too many people thought this team had the intestinal fortitude to avoid elimination in Game 6 against the Boston Bruins, who had 20 points on them or whatever they had on them in the regular season, and then go into Boston and win that Game 7. They lose against the New York Rangers in Game 6. The Rangers were clearly the better team. But you think, okay, the Canadiens probably learned from that experience. The Canadiens probably got a little bit better. Carey Price wasn't there. And even though Dustin Tokarski was very good, you could just imagine it deflates a hockey team knowing that one of the best goalies in the world isn't there. And when a guy like Price was playing as good as he was before that, you never know what can happen. So having said all that, I think the Canadiens are going to be buyers, but at the same time, I don't think they're going to sway away from Marc Bergevin's plan. No. If it's going to mean getting rid of high-end prospects to get there, I don't think they're going to do that. What I think they're going to do is they're going to go for one of these players, for example, a Jaromir Jagr, at the end of his career, and
he'll still cost quite a bit, though.
He's going to cost something. At the end of the day, he is 42 years old, and he is in the final year of his contract, so he's a rental. He's not going to cost a lot.
No, 1.2, 1.3 as a rental.
And would anyone make more sense other than Jagr? I know you got to be
as a right. I know the Sikach playing against Jagr.
He's a right winger. The Montreal Canadiens need a right winger. I also think the Canadiens can look into Zach Cashin in the Vancouver Canucks, a guy who's underperformed there, who once in Buffalo was a highly rated prospect. Now in Vancouver, having a rough time. He could come here and be that physical element that we need.
And Bergey's got that long-term vision too.
He's in year 3 of his 5-year plan. People need to forget he's in year 3. He's exceeded his expectations. It's a 5-year plan. So now he's in a crunch time. He's got to buy, and there's definitely some players on the market.
It's an interesting name, if I can, because he rolled the dice on a Dale Weiss last year, brought in a fourth-line guy who said, you know what, he can give me some good services. You have nothing to lose when you bring in a guy like that because you're not paying a big price.
And they don't have the element of surprise going for them this year. They're not going to surprise anybody.
Yeah,
so they have
to step that up to
negate
that.
Step that up because the teams in the West and the teams playing in the East, they're looking at them and they're expecting them.
A player I wouldn't mind the Canadiens looking at is also from the Toronto Maple Leafs on defense is Roman Polak. Would be a great addition, a little physical grit, kind of what we got last year in return.
But if you look at your back end, there's bigger priorities that need to be filled right now, especially when you go on the offensive front of the West.
You definitely need some defensive depth,
though. You're not only looking at the Eastern Conference Finals. You're looking to go all the way. If you look at the Eastern Conference Finals, you've got a great package. You can hold your own. Boston has regressed. Tampa Bay has moved forward. The Islanders are scary, right? There's a couple of good teams.
You don't really have to worry about the West. You're only going to end up playing one team.
Exactly, and you have Carey Price in
but one hell of a team, though. One hell of a team.
The team waiting for you is probably a little bit better and more prepared, better prepared, been there before.
It's the NHL playoffs. You have Carey Price, and you're going into a Stanley Cup final. If we get there, you got Carey Price. People need to relax. This guy can carry a team on his own.
Well, another guy who can carry a team on his own is Tom Brady, and he's going up against Russell Wilson on Sunday after the break. We're switching gears. We're talking some football. Stay with us. All that and more happening right here on Reid Between the Lines.
Reid Between the Lines is brought to you by enconfiance.ca. Find your dream home.
The Super Bowl is around the corner, and you don't want to miss this one. Russell Wilson is going up against Tom Brady. It's going to be one that you do not want to miss. And, of course, we invite you to give us your picks, your predictions on our social networks at facebook.com/RBTL Sports, as well as on Twitter at RBTL Sports. This week's Pretender Contender, we're talking about the Super Bowl. We welcome back Tony Marinaro, David Hurley, Pierre Evans Just. It's one for the ages. You've got a lot of storylines in this one. Let's start with you, David. The New England Patriots, are they pretenders or contenders in this one?
Well, I've been a big proponent of the New England Patriots this season on the show.
I gotta give you credit
if you're
on
watching,
that.
and I'm going to be very honest with you. I think they're pretenders in the Super Bowl. I actually think the Seattle Seahawks are going to repeat. Russell Wilson's had a great start to his career, 6-1 in the playoffs in his first 3 years. I think he makes it 7-1, wins his second Super Bowl, and will become the highest paid quarterback in NFL history.
So you think he's the most important part of the puzzle? Because
no,
you would
the
think
most
that
important,
defense, right?
most important part of
Defense.
the puzzle is definitely that Seattle defense. That Seattle defense is too strong. It's too fast. That defensive line is going to get after
What about
Tom Brady.
You're forgetting my man Marshawn.
Marshawn Lynch, if he gets over 120 yards, that's my breaking point. If he gets over 120, it's a guaranteed win for Seattle.
Tony, if there's one man who can pull the rabbit out of the hat, and especially with someone who's been under those pressure moments, it's Tom Brady. Is there any chance that he can surprise the world once more?
Absolutely 200% in my opinion. Why? Because everything dictates that Seattle should win this game. They're 5-0 in their last 5. The Patriots are 3-2 in their last 5. Defense wins championships, and the Seattle Seahawks have the better defense. So why do I think New England can win this game? Why? Because most people don't think they can, because Bill Belichick would instill that in them. He's going to go with this whole deflate gate, right? And we've seen this, guys, in the past, right? A rallying cry for teams, a galvanizing moment to rally the troops and say, you know, it's us against the world. Everyone has counted us out. They think we needed to have deflated footballs to beat the Indianapolis Colts, even though we outscored them 28-0 in the second half, and we didn't. We know it, but they don't. They think we stink, and all of that. And you know what? There is a thing about motivation and who wants it more, and repeating is not an easy thing to do. Belichick's going to get his guys ready. I think the New England Patriots are going to shock the football world. Actually, as a matter of fact, I don't think it's that much of a shock.
No, they're the favorites by a point.
For me, it wouldn't be a surprise if New England won. They won 3 Super Bowls before. They have Belichick. They have Tom Brady. They have a pretty good defense themselves.
But they need Gronkowski to step up as well.
He's the key.
He is the key. He is the key.
And he's healthy.
Yep.
And for the first time in a while, for me,
didn't have a big game against the Colts, but
but he didn't need to. He ran the ball for 150 some odd yards, which
they're not going to be running the ball like that against the Seattle defense. That's for sure.
The thing is, the New England Patriots do a lot of things well on defense that counter Russell Wilson.
Right.
And that's something that we need to see. They do have Darrell Revis. They do have Brendan Browner. So
who's having a great year, by the way.
A great year.
He's revitalized.
There's a lot of storylines you can look at.
He's gone back in that conversation of best corner in the league with him and Richard Sherman.
Richard Sherman on the other side is probably the best corner in the league.
But he's up there too.
He's
Darrell
definitely
Revis,
up there.
He's
you
done
have
his
the
proof
best
in the league.
dual threat quarterback, though, in Russell Wilson. We've never seen this in the NFL. A guy who can run like that, who can pass like that. The decisions he makes in crunch time in his young career is impeccable. I mean, his career is starting to be very similar to a quarterback who's on the opposite side in Tom Brady.
Patriots,
if he wins this Super Bowl, watch out. I think he's going to win more than 3 in his career.
The Patriots are 0-2 in Arizona in Super Bowls. I think at some point they're bound to break that streak, and it has to happen. It's going to happen at some point. It's going to happen Sunday.
The New England Patriots will feel deflated after this weekend.
On that note,
on that note, I know you guys could go back and forth, but I'm really happy you took the time to do the show. I know you have a lot of stuff going on. A lot of people respect the work that you're doing at TSN 690.
Thank you.
Where can people catch some of the work that you're doing? We know where to find you on Twitter.
Yeah.
But what are the other stuff you're working on?
Well, the Montreal Forum on TSN 690 on your AM dial, and you can listen online streaming as well, tsn690.ca. You can follow me on Twitter, like you said, at Tony Marinaro, and I'm in weekdays between 10 and 1, and usually on the weeknights, Habs post-game shows. So that's where you can listen to me, and every now and then you can watch me on the tube, to whoever gives me a lot of money.
Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you for
We're
having
not
me.
giving you that, but we're good. We're good. Stay with us. After the break, I face off against MMA legend Bas Rutten. You will not believe what he had to say about the fight coming up on Saturday. Stay with us.
Reid Between the Lines is brought to you by Diadora. Available at diadora.com.
He's considered one of the greatest mixed martial artists of all time, and I've been chasing him down for weeks, and finally, he's agreed to face off with me right here on Reid Between the Lines as I welcome Bas Rutten. Bas, welcome to the show.
You're very welcome, and I'm happy to be here.
All right, let's talk about the fight. Everybody's excited about it. Anderson Silva versus Nick Diaz. A lot of people are asking about the injury and the psyche that it has on Anderson Silva. It was a gruesome injury. How much is that going to play into Anderson's strategy, either leading up to the fight or the actual fight itself?
Well, that depends on every fighter, of course. And him being the spider, Anderson Silva, I don't think it's going to affect him. I think as a fighter, when you go into a fight thinking something might get wrong, it will go wrong. One time in a fight, in preparation for a fight I had, excuse me, I was running in the woods, and it was the day before I went to Japan, and I hurt myself. My ankle was hurt. And the next day I was limping on the plane. I go, oh my God, what did I do? Because I stepped on something in the woods while I was running. And all the time I wasn't showing it to the fighters, but I was very I had a lot of pain in my right ankle. And in the fight, the first thing the fighter went for was that ankle. He jumped on it like he knew it was it was hurt. Jumped on with a toe hold, so I nearly got out of it, and then I won the fight. But it's like when you're a fighter, you come in with an injury. It's like you're projecting that injury.
But the advantage that Anderson has is that Nick is he's not necessarily going to go for those kicks. He's more of a stand-up kind of guy, more of a striker. So that's definitely one of the advantages that Anderson has. But considering the fact that he's potentially one of the greatest fighters of all time, you don't believe that it's going to play into his psyche, and he'll have his own strategy and move forward with it, correct?
Yeah, of course, because if it's healed properly, it will never break at that same spot again, they say. You know, it's actually stronger right now. But it's only, is it in his head? That's the thing.
I want to talk about Nick Diaz, his opponent. Obviously suspended for quite a long time for substance abuse with the use of marijuana. You look at John Jones, him checking into rehab, very little repercussions. Some would say that there's a double standard when it comes to protecting its champions, and you see the difference of treatment. Do you think that this is more personal because of the way that Nick Diaz has been, that bad boy attitude, and the lack of respect, or some would say a lack of respect for the UFC and Dana White?
You know, yeah, it's a hard question because I looked it up real fast, real soon. I figured out, let's go back in time, 2012 with Nick. But that was exactly the same, right? It was also 4 weeks before the fight, he got tested positive?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. You see, yeah, then it's a double standard, of course. And God knows, maybe Coke wasn't in that list at the time. We don't know. But if it was, yeah, of course, it's a double standard.
You take a look at the state of the UFC right now. Conor McGregor is a name that's coming up everywhere. He's on his way to a next level kind of guy, especially with regards to fighting and marketing. He has the potential. He's got all the tools. I was curious to find out. You're a showman. You always loved a great show and giving the fans what they want. When he went face to face with Jose Aldo, did he cross the line there? Is that something that for you consider disrespectful with regards to the fighters?
No, I don't think so. I think that all the fighters know that you're trying to hype the fight. So Aldo deep down inside knows that, oh, McGregor is going to do something because McGregor is just, I'm so sorry, my throat, it's just that guy. So I don't think anybody was pushing McGregor here also. I think that was just all McGregor who saw his chance. I figured I'm going to make a big show out of it. But guess what, it's his personality. I don't think it's, he fakes it. I think it's him when he says, oh, we Irish, we all go to war. If one goes to war, I think it's really him. And his confidence starts to build. So I think it's, first of all, it's not acted out. And second of all, I think it's real. So I think it's honest. And I kind of love it. I love McGregor.
So you believe there was really in the heat of the moment, that whole moment was really, was not pre-planned, was not staged, there was nothing behind the scenes pushing that. You believe that Conor McGregor is that kind of guy, and that's the image who he wants to establish with himself and in the UFC.
Yeah, you see all the interviews, he's constantly attacking his opponents.
Yeah, he's a crazy one. He's a crazy one for sure.
And he backs it up, and he looked really, really good against Seaver. I mean, nobody ever did that to Seaver. Seaver pretty much didn't have a chance. He totally shut him down. And I think when I saw that fight before, I also thought, I don't know, Aldo is a strong guy. But the distance, the way he handles his distance, I think McGregor comes very close now.
Is he the full package? Does he have what it takes to beat Jose Aldo?
I don't know. I wish when he attacks, he puts his chin a little lower. But it works for him because he is looking all the time over this whole opponent. He wants to have a big peripheral vision, so to say. So that was the only thing I would say, maybe keep that down while you're attacking. If you're not attacking, it's okay. But while you're attacking, you want to leave that chin down, especially against a guy like Jose Aldo, of course.
Do you like the state of the UFC right now with this kind of showmanship, with this kind of hype? Real quickly before we let you go, is this something that you like to see more of? Do you want to see more of that showman, less of those rules and constraints and boundaries, and more of that showmanship? Let's give the fans what they want on that excitement level.
Yeah, I think it's good if it's real, if it's honest, if it comes from truth. Then yes, I think like Jones and Cormier, I think that was real as well. Once they start faking it, yeah, of course, nobody kind of likes that, right? Everybody wants to see it real, and with McGregor, it's real.
All right, we're going to have a little bit of fun with you before we let you go. We call this the rapid fire segment. I'm going to throw a couple questions out at you. You just let me know the first thing that comes to mind. Ready to go?
All right, ready.
True or false, you were originally scheduled to fight UFC heavyweight champion at the time, Randy Couture, in your first UFC fight, but it never happened.
Yeah, that's true. Yep.
Who has the better jump split, you or Jean-Claude Van Damme?
Jean-Claude Van Damme for sure. With me, it was optical illusion.
True or false, you are a certified chef?
True.
Fast forward a year from now, who is the biggest star in the UFC?
Oh, a year from now, I don't know. Rousey she'll probably still beat everybody. And then still Jones and Anderson Silva, that's a lot of people. And it could be Conor McGregor.
How long will I sleep after taking one of your famous liver shots?
You won't be asleep, and that's the best thing, because you will be totally awake, enjoying the pain that I just gave you.
And would I have had a better chance if I was training with your body action system?
Yeah, well, you had a target, but the body action system isn't moving. They got great targets, you can do the uppercuts and everything on it, but it's not moving. So I'm actually moving when you're attacking me.
You're a good sport. Absolute pleasure to finally meet you. We look forward to having you back. Thanks for taking the time, and we'll speak to you soon.
You're very welcome. Godspeed. Party on.
Stay with us after the break. My rant is up next. You don't want to miss it.
Read Between the Lines is brought to you by EliteSportsTours.ca. What are you doing this weekend? Read Between the Lines is brought to you by LavalCosm.com. It's ball hockey time.
After fans in Columbus enjoyed a great All-Star weekend, the players and GMs will be returning to work later this week. What preceded the All-Star break was Zach Rinaldo's vicious hit to the head of Chris Letang, a pointless action that has no place in today's NHL. If this professional league wants to make a statement, they should have stepped up and punished Ronaldo for 20 games or more. Surprise, surprise, Zachy has only been suspended 8 games. What a joke. Does anyone remember the Rafi Torres suspension a few years back for his hit on Marian Hossa? Moving forward, if the NHL comes down hard on hits like these, we'll see less of them and hopefully none as the years pass by. The Flyer player even joked, stating that he changed the flow of the game with that exact hit. Clearly, this high flyer does not take the NHL seriously, nor does he respect the disciplinary commission. Why would he? It's been nothing but inconsistent with suspensions over the past few years. Cook on Savard, Chara on Patches, just to name a few. Just recently, Chicago's Dan Carcillo cross-checked Winnipeg's Matthew Perreault and received a 6-game suspension. This was his 9th suspension, and just on that stat alone, we should ask, why does this NHL player still have a job? Enter the role of the enforcer, who supposedly is there to protect his fellow players on the ice. Well, I can tell you that that's nothing short of a myth, because if anything, changing the flow of the game, as our friend Ronaldo stated, does nothing to protect the players. In fact, it allows tempers to flare and creates a level of chaos that is unnecessary. So in reality, does the enforcer really protect his players? No, it's just a myth. It only leads to more agitation. An incredible amount of penalty minutes were accumulated during last week's Penguin Flyer matchup, 3 fighting majors alone in the second period. Fans pay to watch players like Chris Letang, Sidney Crosby, Marian Hossa, Marc Savard, Max Pacioretty, Patrice Bergeron, besides being great NHL players, which is nothing short of the obvious. What else do they have in common? Simple. They've been at the bad end of a dirty hit by some fourth-line plugger who has no business being in the NHL in the first place. So I ask the NHL, and I tell the NHL as a paying fan, get rid of these hits and put these pluggers to the guillotine. Enough is enough, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is a curious case of the NHL player safety. Once again, we ask you to read between the lines. On behalf of the entire team, thanks for being with us. We'll see you next week.
Catering services courtesy of PiattoRustico.com, authentic Italian cuisine. Adam Reid's wardrobe provided by Carve, available at carve.ca. Salon services powered by Glam Atelier, la maison de beauté. Guests of the Read Between the Lines show stay at the Holiday Inn Express and Suites, Montreal Airport. Transportation services by AmbianceLimousines.com.